To game one between Suning and RNG. We're just gonna hop right into it. Already on bans, we have an Ezreal, Lucian, and Sinjal ban for Suning, with Renekton being hovered. Renekton, of course, most played champion, most picked, most banned, and therefore most picked banned champion in the LPL as per the usual, so it's not going to be too surprising. Of course, the LPL love to have very strong solo laners. In fact, just love to have very strong dive and early game winning team compositions, although this pick can be considered kind of interesting, considering the fact that RNG have better early game aggressive stats, I suppose you could say, with being significantly higher in terms of first bloods and first towers killed. Now, Suning do have a bit of a roster change up this game, with their jungler actually going to the support position. Not very sure where On is today, but we have a new jungler, that's View, coming in now to the LPL. Hopefully, it will be for more than a few games. Of course, this season has seen a quite fair number of the players that we are starting to get familiar with in rosters be swapped out. Of course, we're talking about the members of TES, the members of FPX getting swapped one for another. And members of Invictus Gaming, most significantly, the Shy, being swapped out for what seems like the whole and entire summer split. But back to picks and bans, we have the Rumble along with the Sylas pick. Sylas, of course, will be able to steal a very nice Not ultimate, as well as Diana ultimate. It's in a way a preemptive counter pick, because of course it's almost predictable that RNG will pick Nautilus for Ming if it is up eventually. Now, what can RNG look to ban? Well, what remains is the bot lane for Suning Gaming, which honestly is mostly like a Jinx, Ezreal, and Varus kind of bot lane, along with what used to be, I suppose, a Leona, Not, Braum, and Thresh. But that was when On was playing. When it comes to SOFM, I'm not quite sure how comfortable he is with all of the above champions. They could of course opt for scaling, I suppose. The Jinx and the Aphelios are available. Thresh is as well available. Suning actually the one to target out Gala's champion pool, and I don't know how effective they're going to be in their attempts to do this, because of course Gala does have a lot of champions that he does play. He is one of those multi-skilled, multi-talented people. Although his Ezreal and Varus are his two most played champions in the summer split, he of course can play the scaling Aphelios and Jinx as well. He has played a couple games of Kalista, about the same number of games of Kalista as he has Aphelios, and not to mention he has the Kai'Sa, which honestly is one of my favorite picks, and is a pick that would very much fit in here. Not to mention, Suning do need to consider the fact that this is most likely going to be a lane Nocturne, and so what will a jungle Diana, so there's still one solo lane that needs to be picked, and as to be expected, I suppose, there is the Kai'Sa ban coming out there targeting out Gala's champion pool, so he can choose between the Kalista for early game aggression, or he can choose between the scaling options, or maybe even the Tristana if he wants to try and snowball. So it's really, there are a lot of choices available to him, and none of which I think can be considered particularly bad given this current situation. Now, a full-on tank pick coming in for the side of RNG. A little bit lackluster when it comes to point-and-click hard CC for lane ganking, when it comes to the laning phase for their solo lanes. Meanwhile, for the side of Suning, let's see what they go for here. If they go for the Aphelios, they probably take the Thresh, and vice versa. They can do the Jinx Thresh combo. They can do anything that fits with an Alistar, I suppose, because Leona and Nautilus are gone, and the Jinx kind of tells me that this is going to be a Thresh combo. Although Thresh is not by any means one of the easier champions in the game to play, and what I would generally say you stay away from if you are lane swapping, especially when it comes to the competitive leagues. But I guess that might hold more true for people who play in regular solo queue games, because the Thresh does eventually come in. Although truth be told, all you need to do as Thresh is kind of just keep your Jinx safe. Your positioning is key, and you just throw in your Lantern to extract your Jinx from sticky situations, allow her to step up a little bit more aggressively. Flaying people away is a lot easier than you guys might think, because you just point your cursor at them and press E. The box provides a nice peel too, and if you can't hit long-ranged hooks, just wait for your enemy to jump onto your Jinx and then hit your hook then. But of course, you do have to time things a little bit carefully, because Jinx might just get exploded with the Nocturne Olympic diving towards her along with the Diana. As the team compositions now take full and final form, on the side of Suning, we definitely have a winning top lane. Surprised that no one opted for the Gwen or Viego despite them being up. I have two scaling AP team fighting junglers, with two melee kind of scaling to the mid game at least melee junglers. And then on the Suning side, we have a full-on late-game hyper carry scaling Jinx with an early-game CG snowbally Kalista for the side of RNG. So what that kind of tells me is based on priority as well as the strength of the lanes, we will probably see RNG play more towards the bottom side of the map, while Suning look to be playing towards the top side. Both teams playing towards what many fans may consider their go-to win conditions. Of course, Suning's top laner is famous for being a hard carry, especially come the 2020 split. And the bot side of RNG, of course, is where Gala's domain, and in my opinion, one of the most exhilarating AD carries to watch across the entirety of the LPL, and you want maybe even the entirety of the game. Yeah, and it's true maybe that they don't have Gala and Ming don't have the exact solid, well-oiled, very steady and stable quality that the EDG bot lane of Viper and Mako have. Yeah, I suppose that is true, but they do have the entertainment factor. As we remember in the spring playoffs against FPX, when Ming and Gala barely managed to beat the 2v2 bot lane of Crisp and LWX. And of course, Sword in the Stone. That's really cute. I actually never realized that. It's a very nice, cute little addition. And of course, in the what do you call that? Mid-season invitational, when Gala jumped in with his Kai'Sa, it was in that moment that I, along with many others I am very sure, fell head over heels in love with Gala's Kai'Sa gameplay. Now RNG, let's see what they're going to attempt to do here. Looks like they're just trying to get an early ward out, trying to spot out where the new jungler of Suning Gaming is going to start, is going to finish. And with that information, more likely than not, just try and track him. Although I do not think RNG have too strong of a time when it comes to invading, unless I suppose it is through the bottom side of the map. And Gala looking to get to the 1,000 assist mark by the end of this game, unless of course something goes horribly wrong. There's already a little bit of a tussle going down in the bot lane, both RNG and Suning harassing each other very effectively. Interesting that Ming opted to go for the shield here as SOFM now able to just step forward aggressively and hammer flay after flay, auto after auto onto the support of RNG. As the shield does come in, I'm kind of surprised that he didn't go for the hook, because when you don't have the hook, you lose a lot of pressure, of course. Now, both junglers starting on opposite ends of the map doing the exact same pathing. Don't expect too much action of them until level 6, because of course these champions are highly dependent on their level 6. And meanwhile, let's see what's happening on the bottom right hand side here is, Angel actually using the Black Spear onto Huanfeng. And so as a result, when Huanfeng is being doven by the likes of the Diana and the Nocturne, he actually will have an additional out if Angel manages to steal the Kalista out, which actually is not too hard considering the low range of that champion. So, I kind of like the way Suning's composition is drafting up, and on the bot side we have some aggression, exhaust and ignite are thrown down by each support. SOFM caught in the thick of it, and the main have to flash out of this. Does have his own out, but needs to flash quickly as Ming will have his hookup available, and before he can even use it, both supports stealing their nerves and not using each other's spells, kind of the hook and the flash, until the last and final moment by then Gala. Very nice play, able to finish off the new, I'm gonna say new support, but current jungler, I suppose. Kind of confusing. I'm just going to refer to him as the support and SOFM for the duration of this game. And that first split comes just as Scuttle Crab spawns onto the map, both junglers on opposite ends yet again. Probably won't see too much happen here. Depending on how big the wave is up at the top side, Bin could find himself setting up a dive here against Xiaohu, but Xiaohu of course does have the passive available, which is stun won't go down, flashing right on top of his own passive, and as View flashes right on top of him as well. It looks like he will die as a result of this, as Xiaohu, not even turning around to look at him, just simply walks towards his minions and farms it. So a very unfortunate attempt made there by the members of Suning Gaming to try and dive the Mundo. Mundo, of course, seemingly actually not having a hard time against Renekton at all in lane, as the stun is the only thing that can trigger the Mundo passive, and View at the same time doesn't have anything either. But it looks as though nothing else is going to go on here, as Ming throws out the hook. SOFM realizing he needed to tank that for his AD carry, flashed in onto Huanfeng by Ming. And at this point in time, really SOFM needed to just try and flash and try and squiggle around and hope that Ming couldn't hit the Q coming out. and then this is an unfortunate top lane dive attempt. As across the map, it looks like things just going very unfortunate for the members of Suning across the board. View silencing himself with the overheat, was not able to land any more electro harpoons, turn on the flame splitter for any longer than it was already on. Now Xiaohu might find himself in a bit of a perilous position now because he is away from his tower and View is in the topside river, as is Crying pushing out mid lane but seemingly with impunity as Ming looks for another hook, lands it actually nicely onto Huanfeng as the lantern goes out, flash in by Gala, and Huanfeng with a few spears sticking out of his back will make it out of this, but this time I don't think SOFM is going to be able to, as Ming trying to tank up the tower, forcing a flash from both bot laners, forcing a flash from SOFM, and now the remaining summoner spells in bot lane are gone, leaving it very open indeed to being ganked by either jungler. Wei is the first one to find himself down here, looking to take away the Krugs, and it looks like the bot side of Suning have beat themselves a hasty retreat, very wisely so. Now View's about to hop in over the wall, only in time to see Wei just steal away the remainder of his Krug camp. A few Constellation mini Krugs were stolen away, and those actually do give the most gold, to be fair. So View, although he is going to be a little bit sad about that, there's nothing to be completely devastated over. And so far we have a little bit of action across the board, and RNG seemingly coming out ahead in all situations. Now View is a little bit behind when it comes to experience, despite only being 5 CS behind. It's interesting that he's only 5 CS behind actually, despite the fact that Wei hasn't actually postured for any ganks or anything like that. And View, of course, did have the catastrophic top lane dive that just did not go his way, nor did it go Bin's way. Very much going in favor of Corporate Mundo up towards the top side. Double Doran's Blade coming in for Bin, really trying to win this laning phase. Of course, you definitely do not outscale a Mundo as a Renekton, so it's just about doubling down on the early game, I suppose, as the members of Suning are playing towards the top side. Meanwhile, members of RNG with Cry hitting level 6 are posturing towards this bottom side, really focusing in on what they deem to be the weakness here, as Ming is in position to land a very nice hook. That bush is not warded out, but looks like there is a gank going to the top side. Xiaohu, a bit far away from his tower, will not be able to make it back to it in time this time, and will be basically solo killed by Bin with a slight bit of assistance from View's flame splitter to chunk him down a little bit more. Crying, having hit level 6, is looking to get his roams down, but unfortunately was out of position, looking more for the bot side action rather than the top side. Of course, there's not much sense playing around a top lane Mundo. He isn't exactly going to carry your entire team through to the finish line, as a hook comes out onto SOFM yet again, flayed away. Chompers are set down but not activated, as SOFM managed to limp out of that fight with barely any HP, and it looks like he's headed back for the base yet again. Will this trigger a dragon? I don't think so, because Wei is towards the top side now, trying to clear down towards his blue buff, which is spawning in about a minute's time. So taking a step back and looking at the goal, 400 in favor, 500 in favor of RNG, ever so slightly, a little bit more than a kill. And across the board, things are pretty even. Based on compositions though, I would say that come the mid game, RNG will be enjoying their position slightly more than Suning will. Angel has a Paranoia stolen, so for the next maybe minute and a half, 2 minutes, we'll be looking to try and use it just to see if he can push Crying out of away from the minion wave, maybe just try and counter Crying. It kind of counters him by staying, you can even counter him by staying in lane, because when the Paranoia is activated, you can activate your own Paranoia and then you will block out his vision, the enemy Nocturne's vision. Now it looks like the members of RNG are preparing themselves for a potential top lane dive, if not then just to secure top lane vision, as the Dominus has not been activated. Bin just jumping forward, using his W in order to preempt, I think, in all-in. Able to get the passive out, but the bot side of RNG have rotated up to ensure that this Rift Herald will be secured without a hitch, but it looks like the bottom side of Suning are not even interested in a rotation themselves, which pretty much secures Rift Herald in of itself. Now Rift Herald will be picked up. It'd be interesting to see where this is used. I don't think there's any sense in using it topside, as now RNG are contesting this blue buff. I don't think Suning are going to give this up easily, and I'm pretty sure topside, strong side is going to be Suning's. As the smite comes down, Bin really looking for a fight, but there's nothing he can do, I suppose, as Angel does not have an ultimate 2 steal yet, and in fact was a little bit low on mana. Mid lane priority is just constantly in favor of the Nocturne, as to be expected, I suppose, given that the champion does have innate Hydra kind of built into his kit. And just like that, we find ourselves with an 800 gold lead in favor of RNG across the board. The gold is most heavily being compiled onto the bottom lane with Gala about 1000 gold ahead of his counterpart in that Huanfeng. And of course, the pressure being exerted in the bot side with hook after hook landing out onto the support, as well as being weaved through the minions, hitting out onto the Jinx as well, coming from Ming, actually is changing the bot lane, is making it so hard, so oppressive to lane as the scaling composition. And assuming, I like what they're trying here, trying to change things up a little bit, if not in players, then also I suppose in drafts. But I think that this is not working out too well for you. Now, admittedly, the game is not even remotely close to being over. That is, of course, because of the scaling nature of Suning's composition. But I'm kind of feeling shaky when it comes to execution as well on the side of Suning, as a top lane dive is attempted yet again. In comes View, down goes Xiaohu to the likes of Bin Bin so far, aside not being flustered whatsoever in the least by the initial failed dive. Is actually setting up dives very, very well now, proccing the passive in advance with his Ruthless Predator. And RNG, I'm liking what's happening here. A little bit of crossmap is Crying and Angel are just duking out in the mid lane. One Paranoid goes down, another goes down as well, and Crying is the one ultimately that falls, as Angel, having put enough points into his Kingslayer without any healing cut on the side of Crying, eventually just forces a fight and knows that he will win, because of course that Bruiser Nocturne doesn't do all that much damage. And with enough points into Kingslayer, the cooldown going down as well as the healing amount going up means that you will be able to easily solo out your opponent if he is a Bruiser Nocturne. Of course, if that was Penetration Nocturne, things would be different, but Penetration Nocturne also would fall off horrendously come a little bit beyond the mid game. So of course, it is generally better when you're in pro play not to try and solo carry fights too much. And we see here Angel just seeing his opportunity. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. At this point, I think he'll surprise himself at how much damage the Kingslayer did, and really just biding his time, waiting for another Kingslayer to come back off cooldown to heal him back up to full. Meanwhile, RNG do secure themselves the bottom lane tower, and of course the first tower of the game, going in favor of RNG, as was the first kill of the game, as the statistics yet again kind of lead you to believe come the start of this game. Now, quick rotation coming in from RNG, shifting their bot and top lanes aside, trying to get as many platings as possible onto Gala, trying to really snowball the Kallista's lead. And now Crying finds himself in a bit of an awkward position because he wants to push in these waves. Unfortunately, it is a little bit more difficult now, considering the fact that he also realizes Angel can easily solo him out, even without the ultimate most likely, as the spot side of Suning a little bit late on the rotation, and as a result, could this entire tower go down before they get here, as already they're working on their third plating going to be taken down, and the Rift Herald charge will lead to the rest of it going down as well. Gala actually 10 platings deep at this point. Now, notably, most of them were shared across him and Wei, but those are the champions that you want the gold onto. Now, there won't be another charge here by the looks of it, as Huanfeng able to tank up the Rift Herald's attention a little bit more. It looks like RNG will now rotate from topside towards mid lane to siege down the last outer tower of Suning, the last remnant of outer safety for the side of Suning. Angel does have depth charge stolen away from Ming, and he can look for a fight soon, but the engage on the side of Suning is another point where they do have a little bit of lacking, because of course the only real engage they have, hard engage, is a Thresh hook. On the other hand, the Rumble can provide some very nice follow-up, as can the Renekton. Unfortunately, those picks are, as we mentioned, follow-ups, and can find it extremely hard to actually set up the fights and get it rolling. Bin, of course, with his flash up can count as engage, and that the flash really bolsters his ability to look for an engage. Unfortunately, considering his items, I don't think he wants to be the one to jump in first. He has no sustain to speak of. And now with Stridebreaker not even providing a dash anymore since the changes, now that Stridebreaker doesn't even provide a dash, things can be said to be not so good when it comes to the engage department for Renekton. As Gala now has made his way back to lane, has completed his mythic item, is the second champion actually, in the game to do so, behind Xiaohu on his Mundo. As the members of RNG looking to just get some bot side domination of the river in order to set up for the dragon, which is coming in about a minute's time. Rift Herald will be spawning in about the same duration as well. So the members of RNG with mid lane priority having shifted their bot lane up here, it means that they can kind of choose between the two. And if I was RNG with the Inferno Drake, although Infernal Drake is nice, I'd probably say if I had to choose one over the other, I would probably go for the Rift Herald, given their composition, given the fact that they probably want to siege as much as possible with, and just keep the snowball rolling with this Callista pick. Truth be told, they could probably go for both and manage to secure both depending on how they play out the map. Crying, of course, has yet to use his paranoia in any lane that is not his own. So the members of RNG are perhaps just looking to pick off the members of Suning as they come in, as they attempt a contest for any of these objectives. But it looks like Suning, wisely I suppose, will be sitting back, but this is kind of playing into RNG's hands to a certain extent, because of course they want to be able to get the early objectives, and right now nothing seems to be capable of stopping them. Suning, if they want to contest any of these, which I don't know if they're strong enough or not, is hard to tell. In terms of AD carry gold differential, it is about as cataclysmic as it can ever be, as we have Gala now a very comfortable 2.2k gold ahead of his counterpart. But things, I do believe, are just going to get worse and worse as every single neutral objective on the map goes in favor of RNG, and with this Rift Herald they can easily siege down the last tier 3 outer tower on the side of Suning Gaming. And really, what can Suning do? I suppose the only way, without engage of your own, one of the best ways to force a fight is to be at an objective first and set up. It looks like Suning are trying to get a bit of aggression to going onto the top side of RNG. I don't think they can stay around for too long, however, as in comes Wei and Ming from base. Xiaohu as well is just barreling through it towards mid lane, and it looks like with Gala resetting, they may have a few more instances of time to attempt something here. At least Crying will be able to get another push out onto the top wave. It looks like he's not even going to do that, as very unsynchronized recalls coming in here from RNG, which means they are slower to get out onto the map, allowing Suning to bide more time, push more waves into the tower. And right now, all RNG really want to do, I think, is to run into as many members of Suning as possible in the mid lane. Now, Suning need to be gathered at the ready as well. Need to get some vision around their flanks and need to be prepared to defend this mid lane tier 3 tower from the oncoming onslaught of RNG. There's been a bit of a lull in terms of action so far, as Gala is just making his way towards more and more items. But I'm liking the current game state in Suning's favor, as they've managed to slow down the game. RNG kind of have allowed them to, not really facilitated them to, I suppose, as Huanfeng stepping out way too far. RNG going in, Gala head first as Ming gets thrown in with the face call depth charge down onto SOFM. In comes the Paranoia around to SOFM as well, targeting out the squishy support as Equalizer comes down onto 4 people. It's a very beautiful Equalizer, but the damage really just isn't there. Super Mega Death Rocket as well, but Xiaohu just tanking it up, popping his ultimate to regen it back to full. And now with the inside track into mid lane, Angel stepping forward, not quite sure what he's planning to do as the stopwatch does go down. But in this situation, I don't think there's very much he can do, as Wei jumps in as well. In comes the Moonfall, pulling in view, but eventually being used to one-shot Angel, and in the backlines, Bin trying to 1v3, actually nearly taking out Crying, and ultimately Huanfeng is free to free hit. Unfortunately, he didn't have the spacing or the range to do so, and things are pretty catastrophic now for RNG. Angel, I don't think he should have looked for any more than they had at that point in time, because he kind of just interned his entire team. Huanfeng was safe throughout the duration of that, but unfortunately he was never really able to get his auto attacks off, because of course that wall over there, and Bin fighting 3 people over that wall was kind of See, okay, Angel, that's kind of an int. Even though there is a wall, as we mentioned, separating the members of RNG, it really is not enough, as in comes the Moonfall, one-shotting out Angel. Bin in the backlines actually doing some major work, trying to get onto Gala, but trying at the same time to take Crying as a consolation prize, but ultimately it was not enough. And here we are, finding ourselves in a position where RNG are 4,000 gold in the lead, and based on how they've been playing, it doesn't look like they're going to give things up. To be fair, Suning did manage to stall out the game a little bit in the last 5 minutes, but now things are not looking to be so good, as RNG are perfectly happy with the game lulling back into a more passive state for the next minute and 30 seconds until they can secure themselves Baron and begin relentlessly sieging the remainder of Suning's base. In the meantime, we can most likely see RNG try to set up vision deep into the side of Suning, trying to take away whatever jungle camps they can while pushing out all 3 lanes where possible, if not then playing through 2 lanes. And really, the major contest we're going to see over the next few minutes is going to be in the jungle as the Rift Herald is spawned up towards top side. It looks like they just want to siege down this tower as much as possible, trying to make sure that the wave can get as deep into the side of Suning as possible in preparation for this future Baron contest. Though I'm kind of surprised they didn't opt to use it bot side, as the charge will go down. Unfortunately, the tower will not fall with Suning being in position. They could look for something here though, as Crying Anyway rounding the corner. The remainder of RNG are coming as well. Suning are quite out of position as Huanfeng and SOFM find themselves in the mid lane. Angel nearly getting tagged up by the hook as Gala is jumping forward very aggressively. Does have the shield bow available, which makes him quite tanky and can pull Ming in for a knock up peel off with the Fate's Call, as Xiaohu and Bin just trading blows with each other a little bit by little bit. But Dragon and Baron are spawning, prompting synchronized recalls from the members of RNG. They're going to come out of base 4-man strong. And Suning, if they ever wanted to develop vision around any objective, this is the time. SOFM very on the ball when it comes to that. Good job by him, but really pushing into the darkness for RNG is not at all a problem with their composition, with Xiaohu, the ultimate tank of tanks, having now completed. Will he have completed his Thornmail at this point? Maybe. Yep, having now completed his Thornmail, really the only members of the team that are going to do damage to him are Angel and View, and really neither of them want to be the ones smacking away at a Mundo, as now with Mundo on leading the charge, in comes RNG to clear out whatever vision that was established by SOFM only moments prior. In fact, even in their own jungle, Ming trying to get some deep vision possible, trying to get as much of an early warning system rolling as much as possible. Now, teleports are available from the solo laners of Suning, but they have no idea that Dragon is being started up. Did see Wei enter the pit though, and with the remainder of RNG posturing in the mid lane, they could potentially go for a teleport here, and here we go. But Paranoia is propped. That is Angel's teleport coming down. Crying heading right towards it as Paranoia comes in. Crying had no ideas because that was Angel's Paranoia, and it gets really confusing. Only difference between the two is the slight tint on the screen that we see, a blue darkness and a red darkness. So Dragon was snuck away by Wei. They are at soul point now, RNG. Now Suning have been known to give up even the Dragon soul itself when it comes to playing scaling compositions, because of course the real forte of Suning are mid-game, although this is a bit later than usual, mid-game scaling compositions with a nice bit of mobility poke and a bit of split pushy vibes. They like to take kind of little skirmishes and go run with it from there. So really, things are not looking so good now for the members of Suning Gaming, and I expect this to be a complete blown out game. Still, the gold lead remains at 4.5k gold across the board. We have second items being completed for Bin as well as Xiaohu, and of course third items being built on by Gala. Meanwhile, a hook is landed now onto Angel. Angel forced to run away, unable to even put a Kingslayer down onto Ming, as it might have put him too deep into enemy territory. Suning now deciding to group up together as 5 to try and contest vision, I believe, and to see if we can contest, make sure that Baron is not freely done, as a hook lands onto Xiaohu, but Xiaohu just letting his passive tank it. Ming stepping forward, does have the hook at the ready as he throws out, not able to tag out Angel in that situation. Xiaohu getting a little bit damage thrown onto him by Huanfeng, as we just see posturing now. Side waves are at a neutral state, so neither team is really losing too much, but it looks like towards the top side RNG are building a natural wave. Meanwhile, in the bot side RNG are also building a wave. So now all RNG really need to do is just play it safe, push in this mid wave, and then they can go get some more vision if they want to, or they could just literally start up Baron right now. Let's see what happens. There's a bush camp coming in here. SOFM might have to face check this by himself. If not, then it would have to be Bin, as Angel steps in a little bit aggressively. The vision is there. Bin now trying to clear as much as he can as the crescent stripe comes out. In comes the briefcase as well. Xiaohu leading the charge, hook down onto Bin, but Bin is not really that tanky. It's a very nice equalizer dropped onto 5. Bin is taken out. Paranoia going down onto Angel. Angel does have the depth charge, might have to use it in order to disengage, but he's flashed on immediately. Does get the Kingslayer off as well as the depth charge, but ultimately the depth charge is tagged out by Crying, and Xiaohu's passive protects him from even being knocked up. And just like that, Suning seed Baron buff. Baron to RNG. Very nice control of vision there by RNG, forcing a mistake from the members of Suning, and there's really nothing that Suning could do at that point in time. Even if they really wanted to, they could not have had a safer way of checking it. The only quote-unquote safe way of doing it was to approach it, I suppose, from many different angles, but that also would have likely led to you just all dying. So really, it was an impossible situation for the members of Suning, and there's nothing they could really have done in the past 5 minutes or so, I believe, that would have changed the outcome of that, as been just, it's kind of obvious that they are in there as all the spells come weaving out. But really, what can you do? What can you do? As the members of RNG just have everything. They've got the snowballing composition that's working out well for them. They have the engage, they have the tank, they have the catch, they have the literal long range engage with the Nocturne, with the Nautilus, and of course they have the follow-up of the Diana. Now Xiaohu is stepping up with Impunity, and although the ultimate is stolen, that's really one of the more low-value ultimates to steal for the side of Suning. I think even the Fate's Call at this point might be a little bit better, as your tankiness isn't really gonna count for too much, I do believe. Of course, the real ultimate that you want in this situation is the Diana ultimate or the Nautilus ultimate, which was stolen previously. And now with Baron buff, RNG begin their siege with Crying crashing a massive wave towards the top side. Meanwhile, the remainder of RNG are beating down the tier 2 tower in mid lane, and it looks to fall very, very soon, very, very shortly. In fact, it looks like a dive is going on here as Nocturne going into the backlines. It is the Jinx that is flashing out of the fight.